And people keep doubting this Indiana team. I love it. All right, let's hop into the class of 2026. It was not only a massive week for Hoosiers leaving the program or graduating from the program, but it was a massive week for new Hoosiers that are going to be coming into the program. Last week when we talked about the commitment of Henry Ollinger. He was the, I believe, second commit in the class of 2026. That's now up to 6. They were extremely active last week. They brought in Rodney White, defensive tackle from the DMV. He did a dope video on his Twitter page about like being doubted and being in a different position next year. So, like, obviously, really looking forward to following him. Casimir Hicks, cornerback, in-state kid from Indiana, which depending on which site you look at, he's either the number 3 or number 1 rated player in the state. I believe Zach Osterman had this, but I think a bunch of other people had this too. If that holds true and he ends up being the number 1 player in the state, I think it'd be the first time in a really long time, if not ever, that Indiana brought in the number 1 player in the state of Indiana. So that commitment's a massive deal. And then on the back end of that commitment, we got the best players in Indiana play in Indiana tweet from Monsieur Showtime Sales, who's a top 10 Monshun. Yeah, I gotta say it correctly. Top 10 player in the class of 2027. Obviously, also from the state of Indiana. He was part of that relay team with Davion Chandler. He's a Lawrence North kid, highly coveted recruit. So to see that type of energy around Indiana was very, very cool. And then
seeing that from Monshun Sales, who, I mean, if we're able to pull that off, that's going to be the biggest commitment in possibly Indiana sports history. Not just, that'd be bigger than getting, that Damon Bailey, Steve Alford back in the day. Like, that's Romeo Langford. It's bigger than all that in terms of, I think, impact on what this team could be. Like, could be very well getting your own Jeremiah Smith, Julio Jones. Though, I mean, this is a guy at 6'5" track speed. He's right in our backyard. Let's just go for it. Like, shoot for the stars here.
Have to go for it.
And at this point, all our chips in that one.
100%. But Hicks wasn't the last commitment of that day. I believe that was on Friday. Later in the day, Friday, Jacob Savage, number 1 athlete in Kentucky. We've noted him a couple times on the show. He's coming to Indiana to play linebacker. So in his like load up to his commitment, he had it on Instagram Live, and one of his coaches, I don't know if it was head coach or whatever, basically was like, if you don't have 2,000 all-purpose yards and 150 tackles, like, you had a bad year this upcoming year. And I was like, that's a ridiculous standard to set for somebody. Then you look at his junior stats, and it's like 147 tackles and 1,900 yards or something stupid like that. So his highlights are absolutely hilarious. I have no idea the level of competition he's playing against, but in terms of like an athlete, like, they're like, again, it just fits the mold of the types of linebackers they bring in. Is like, it looks like he fits the build of Bryant Haynes linebacker.
I mean, when it comes to just like figuring out whether these guys are going to be good, obviously just time will tell. No one knows anything, whether it comes to the draft or the recruiting or anything like that. But from what we've seen, Signetti as an evaluator, I mean, these guys are definitely going to be qualified to play at the Big Ten level. I think there's clear things that he looks for. He's even said it publicly, what he looks in. So just trusting all this. And once again, I want to point out defensive staff, once again, ahead of the curve of the offensive staff. Recruiting wise seems to be a trend. Brian Haynes, fan of the pod. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Well, the other thing too is that wasn't even the last commitment of the last, well, I'll call it a week since we last spoke. But last night, basically, as I was about to go to bed, I can't remember if it was Instagram or Twitter or whatever, but Lawrence J. Timmons, son of Lawrence Timmons, committed to Indiana, kid out of Western Pennsylvania. The Pitt University fans were losing their minds. Like, they're like, I can't believe we didn't get this kid. And so, again, to your point, the defensive staff ahead of the offensive staff when it comes to recruiting. I mentioned in the tweet about it, because he was listed as a corner, that Coach Ojong might have been responsible for the recruitment. Timmons himself shouted out Coach Ola Adams in his tweet. So credit to the whole room, credit to the whole staff. Like, you look at defensive tackle, that's Coach Kuhn's room. Cornerback, that's like Rod Ojong's room. Defensive back, safety, that's Coach Ola Adams' room. Linebacker is Brian Haynes. Like, the defense is putting in work. Like, the defensive staff is recruiting their asses off right now.
Yeah, you know how I feel about gene pool evaluation philosophically. Just like, yeah, get the son of the NFL player. Like, get the cousin of the NFL player. Like, I think that's a smart move. Yeah,
It's a good
that's
strategy. It's a good production is the greatest indicator of production.
yeah, obviously from the master of the eye test himself.
uh, but then it's like
There's a trend. I mean, Mason Taylor, we talked about him before the show. I mean, related to 2 Pro Bowlers, goes 3rd round. I bet money on that he's gonna, be a starter in the league at some point. Like, I think they hit that pick. I think they nailed it.
but
I think we hit on Timmons too.
Obviously it's important to keep this type of momentum going. You love seeing that they're just building on talent and momentum, and it's one thing after the other, and these things build on each other. But it's like it's you never. I said this before to you, but you never truly know who's in the foxhole until the shooting starts. And like I'm not saying this means anything, but Brian Hartline made a personal visit to Henry Ollinger like over the weekend or last week. So it's like these things aren't set in stone until they're set in stone. So I would caution not getting married to any of these guys, but just like being full blown supportive and understanding that they're kids making the best decisions for themselves. And obviously we believe Indiana is a great place for them and that it puts them in a great position to succeed. So obviously attack that with positivity. The other thing,
when Ohio State's scrambling, that's a good sign. Just
very
putting
good
that
sign.
out there.
It's an awesome that is a very much a positive sign. Also,
I
like
want them shaking in their boots.
it reminds me of last year. Michigan tried to come in late on LeBron Bond and it got stiff armed.
Yeah. Then
Absolutely stiff armed.
Colorado, Byron Baldwin.
Yeah, stiff armed too.
Mm-hmm.
The Signetti guy, man, he's good at what he does. But there's again to echo the defense being a little bit ahead of the offense. You've been saying all winter that obviously the class gets built around the quarterback. The guy who Indiana looks like has been targeting primarily in the class of 2026, Brody McWhorter, moved his commitment date up 14 days to the 1st. He then logged a Steve Wiltfong prediction for Mississippi State. Wiltfong got clowned last week, I think. I think Jackson Cantwell, who's the number 1 player in the class of 26, the offensive tackle, that he put out a prediction for him and he got laughed at by the player. So I'm not saying that means he's not coming to Indiana. That being said, when these guys put their names on the graphic, and you like to think that's coming from somewhere. If you're going to scoop a kid like that, you might as well be accurate. So I'm not a fan of that style of doing it. But if Indiana has to look elsewhere in the class of 26 for quarterback, whether that's because of the development of Alberto Mendoza, how they feel about Tyler Cherry and the other guys in that room. We know Jacob Bell's a freshman in the room who's on scholarship. I'm not sure what that means in terms of where they're going to go at quarterback, but that could be the main reason why they're probably lagging a little bit behind in terms of recruiting that side of the ball.
Yeah, it means they're not going to get their first choice at quarterback in this cycle, and I think that's a bad thing. Just putting it out there. I think what would make me a lot happier is if he does end up going to Mississippi State, if we can get their baseball coach who just got fired. That'd be huge. Thanks for doing that, Mississippi State. So honestly, that'd kind of be a fair trade, but I think obviously you've heard me say how important the quarterback is for a recruiting cycle, getting the guy earlier the better, so you can build around it, build a foundation. It's supposed to be your foundation of each class, bringing 1 a year. Obviously, they have a ton of depth, bringing in 2 last year with Mendoza and Cherry, and then still bringing in Jacob Bell.
And Cherry, actually, because he's not using year of eligibility, technically is classed up or down or whatever that ends up being.
He's in the same class as Jacob Bell now.
He's
Yeah, he's going to come in as a redshirt freshman next year. And I think, right? Redshirt freshman? Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be Bell too, who we obviously assume is going to redshirt this year. Well. So that would be again, maybe that just means that they really like those guys in the room, and so you follow.
I feel good about it. I don't buy into this Wiltfong.
I think it's more than okay to acknowledge that if they don't get somebody they were. I was gonna say I think it's okay to acknowledge that if they don't get somebody that they were outwardly going after, that like it was a swing and a miss. Few and far between has it been from this staff. It's definitely no reason to panic, but I think just kind of pointing out that they were recruiting him. Like it's not insignificant. So we'll keep an eye on it. I'm not worried about it. I'm definitely not worried about this staff's ability to recruit or develop or find a quarterback. But obviously just something to keep an eye on for the offensive side of the ball for that class. They are bringing in people left and right. I know Noodle Ferguson was on campus. I believe he's
Are these 2027 guys or 2026 guys?
I think he's a 26 guy. I know CJ Givens was on campus as well. Chase Davis and Jamison Purcell are both quarterbacks in the class of 27. They've both been on campus recently. So like this staff is, I definitely wouldn't be worried about how much effort this staff is putting into building this class. Like
Clearly
they're
they're
balls to the
listening to
walls.
me. Clearly. Clearly they're Brian Haynes is hearing me talk about important quarterback. He's just like, guys, we gotta get on this. Yeah, we gotta go. We gotta go. And yes, 4
That's
years
gotta
of
be
Cherry.
it.
Honestly, that's huge. Like Cherry's gonna be that guy that everyone's like, he's 25 playing quarterback in college. Go on LinkedIn. Like he's gonna be that guy. He's yeah. That'll be fun.
Any closing thoughts on the class of 2026 as that starts to take shape? It's obviously extremely exciting. They're starting to build talent. This year's class is stacking up to be better than last year's class. And last year's class was pretty damn good. They're bringing in a lot of high impact guys. There's a lot of top 500 guys. Obviously, we don't care about stars. We care about production and talent. But the better you perform, the more talented guys you can attract. And so this is like this. It's shaping up very nicely.
Right.
There is,
I
and I
haven't
saw
said this on the pod yet, but my recruiting for stars, the idea of stars mattering, right? I haven't said this live, right?
I'm sure you have, but go ahead.
Well, I don't think so. In a macro sense, no, in a micro sense, in microeconomics, recruiting economics, stars do not matter. Individually, the stars do not matter. Collectively, macroeconomically, recruiting wise, the stars do matter. Just look at the results of the college football playoff as an example. To get over the hump, you need to have elite NFL talent, 4 stars, 5 stars at the highest clip, produce the most NFL talent. That's just how it goes. That's just the reality of the situation. Obviously, individually, it doesn't hit every time, but it's all about evaluation. We trust Cignetti. I think a lot of these 3 stars are going to end up being NFL players one day. And we've stated before, this 2026 class is anticipated to be the best Indiana football recruiting class of all time.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, there we go.
I feel like I had a point to like nicely wrap a bow on this, and then I just completely lost it as I was listening to you speak. So, yeah, we're going to keep an eye on it. Obviously, class of 2026, Indiana football is doing big things, and we'll be talking about it every week.